without these regulations, it would become a real problem, and
Right.
it's something that you can't sort out then. So really, with councils pushing it and these regulations becoming, more apparent every year, it's actually important because you're dealing with it before something really bad happens. Welcome back to another episode for Paving the Way pod. Today we're going to talk about permeable paving and SUDs regulations, which is becoming more and more of a topic.
We're getting exciting, aren't we now? This is it.
we do know it's not that exciting, but for the people
No,
that
is.
it's applicable
People need to know.
it's
Exactly,
important,
of course
and
it
it's
is.
becoming so much more of a thing now than it used to be 10 years ago. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna get worse as well. So first of all, Andy, will you just summarise what permeable paving is for people that don't know?
Permeable paving and SUDs are two different things, really. But because you can have permeable paving. Permeable paving means that you're putting some sort of pavement down, whatever you call it a pavement, whether it be a patio or driveway or something on a roof terrace or whatever. Permeable paving means that it will allow water to pass through the structure.
So I like to say a sponge.
Yeah, either that or
if it's permeable, it means that if you poured water in the top, it'd come out of the bottom.
It would do indeed.
Some way, somehow.
Yeah, somewhere, somehow. So I think a lot of people get a little bit mixed up of the material being used being permeable. You can have a totally non-porous product like porcelain, let's say, but still have a permeable structure. Because with that is that the paving itself won't let the water through, but you can have it where the jointing compound used lets the water through. The actual sub base that you've got, the mortar itself can let the water through. The sub base can be open graded. A lot of people refer to sort of like the sub base as being type 1. Not to get too geeky, that's a little bit of it's a 40 mil aggregate, which is sort of like graded down to dust. So that when compacted, it sort of like gets compacted, gets rid of all the voids in there. So when that's done, it's
not permeable
not
anymore.
Permeable, basically.
The thing is, though, that is best practice for landscapers.
It is,
so when you're doing a patio, it is the best practice that's what we would say, wouldn't we, to compact it. But
definitely. But you can still do that using the different graded aggregates.
So I think that's where we might come across issues with people, because we've had it before where people have said that, it's got to be SUDS compliant, it needs to be permeable.
Yeah.
But the issue is when you're thinking about that on the top layer, you can't use porcelain because if the sub base and everything's not prepped to be permeable, it's irrelevant what's on the top. So I think when you're planning it, you've got to plan it from the ground up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've had a situation before, haven't we, with the cobble sets where
Oh,
they couldn't be accepted because they were not classed as a permeable product. But if that was thought about when it came to the sub base and working your way up through the layers, then it would have been. It's just it needs to be pre-planned because all the layers need to be permeable, not just.
That's right. Again, I think, like I say, we'll come into the SUDS sort of like things to be SUDS compliant. But you can have permeable structures like many roof terraces, balconies, etc. can accommodate traditional laying methods with your sand and cement mortars and such like that.
Sorry,
so,
I can't sort of see your hand.
Wow.
It's just so many times. Just
sorry, as long as I'm not going near your muff. These are muffs, by the way.
Get off.
Anyway, sorry, I'll try and keep my hands still. I can't.
I do it as well. It's talking with your hands. It's so funny.
Do it.
I'm sat here I'm terrible for
anyway.
Sorry.
Don't do that.
I just interrupted your flow.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, mid-flow. See what you did again.
Sorry.
That's
I'm so sorry.
So like if you have got a roof structure, a roof terrace or things like that, can't use traditional laying methods because of either weight or the drainage that's needed up there, then you've got pedestal systems, raised lane systems, they are permeable paving, and that's what it's about. So it just lets the water free drain go through.
But if you think of it in a simple format, people think, well, porcelain's not permeable.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you don't grout it when you use the pedestals, the water goes through. So as long as the water, for me, in a simple terms, if the water can get through all of the layers and each layer allows the water to go through somehow, that is permeable.
It is, and then you've got to think about where the water goes from that, as well. So you've got to have correct drainage in place beyond the actual lane, if you know what I mean. So if you've got it running into a channel, drainage channel, so you've installed that and it's gone to the fall, and that again, you've got a permeable paving. If you're paving, I'll call it a slab or the patio or whatever else is non-permeable, and it runs off into a drain and then that runs off into a soakaway, that is still classed as permeable paving, because you've allowed that for that surface water to run off into a responsible place.
So there is the 5 square metre rule, isn't there, that we've spoke about before. So
for driveways, yes, indeed, yeah.
But so it's basically 5 square metres if you've got an area that is non-permeable, that's over 5 square metres.
Yeah.
And it doesn't run into an area that is permeable, then you have to apply for planning for it. And generally they want it to run away on your own property, into like a garden, flower bed, somewhere like that, rather than running onto the highway or
neighbour's property or anything else like that.
It makes sense though, I guess, because everyone's channeling the water towards the highway that then goes into the
that's it. If you know
system,
they see it as the new
better to ground.
The new sort of like estates and things like that, where they see it, which everybody, there used to be fields and everything like that, which allowed water to generally soak away. Then if all that's going into the sewer systems, then it's going to overload that and just run straight off into the sea, whatever else, wherever that happens. It's to avoid situations like that just running off. So it's like I said, there's different ways of sort of like viewing a permeable paving. You can have permeable paving. You can use a gravel on your driveway, which is, again, with the correct sub-base, can just soak straight through. I've said before about the resins that are used. They're becoming more and more prevalent. People use resins. They let the water through as long as the preparation is correct underneath as well.
And that's, I think, the key takeaway, what people take away from this, is it's not just the product on the top, it's the layers. So it's like you need to see the water travelling down the layers, and it needs to go somewhere that's not into the highway.
You see one of them like the fun fair games where you put your 2 pence in and it goes down.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's
look
true.
at it going down to the bottom.
That is true.
And then goes away because you never win.
Obviously, with us being in the industry, it becomes second nature, like the wording you use and everything like that. But I think when you're trying to explain things and it's maybe someone that's not used to any of that terminology, it can seem quite daunting.
I would also say some professionals as well, as in, you look at your paving needs to be permeable. Well, it doesn't necessarily. Your paving system needs to be permeable. So the actual paving slab itself, like I say, porcelain is non-porous, 0.004 porosity in it. It doesn't let water go through it. It'd be the jointing compound, if it's correct, jointing compound, and all the things below it is what lets the water through. So I would say that is an explanation on permeable paving, I would hope.
Good explanation. No, it definitely is. Good. So let's talk about SUDs, because that's a requirement that is becoming more and more popular. I think it's only going to become more and more popular. It's a really important thing to consider. So let's start basic. What SUDs actually stands for?
Well, it's Sustainable Drainage Solution. They've dropped the U out of it now because
I
think
just urban anymore.
No, just urban drainage, and it was sort of like that. But it's I think they've sort of like done that because it's whether it's urban or whether it's rural. I think the same adaptation is to be done. In sort of like, depending where it's being used. But I think the core principle of SUDs is the correct managing of surface water, as in rainwater as such. So you've got to be able to sort of like dissipate that water from the surface so it doesn't run off, as we just said earlier on, either onto the highway or onto a neighbour's property, so it's their problem type of thing. I'd say that the core principle is managing surface water, really.
Yeah, perfect. And it's very much permeable paving as well, isn't it? It all ties in together.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think the main points are that you generally require planning permission when you've got an area over 5 square metres on your drive that is non-permeable. Then you need to be looking at planning permission. If your drainage is going into the highway and it's not going into a different area, you need to be looking at planning permission.
Soak away as such.
And I would also say that all the runoff water that's happening on your patio, your driveway, or anywhere around your house needs to be running into your own property and not
it needs to be
into the
soaking
highway.
Away as such. It can't.
Which is a good thing, really. Plants to grow.
Well, it is, absolutely, yeah. Well, if you think about it, before the driveway was there, this is the point of behind it. And I know people will think, it's a little bit sort of like belt and braces and red tape and this and that. But before a new property was there, the rain had fallen and just soak away and just do its natural thing. Whereas, we've put a load of man-made or sort of like natural stone
and it's
things
only
in
getting
place,
with the building that's happening at the minute, it's getting more and more as well.
Yeah, and I think more aimed towards sort of like the bigger developments as such as these type of things, which have to sort of like meet all sorts of different regulations, but the domestic household as well have to sort of like adhere to the same things, which I know sort of like people who are building their own self builds, etc., things like that, as well as having to put bat boxes here and there and whatever else, have to sort of like comply to SUDs.
It doesn't seem like a big issue, but really it is, because what we speak about all the time is one of the worst things that can happen is when you don't know where the water is going, or it's going in somewhere you don't want. Water gets everywhere out of everything. Water is not what you want. Everywhere was getting built without these regulations, it would become a real problem, and it's something that you can't sort out then. So really, with councils pushing it and these regulations becoming, more apparent every year, it's actually important, because you're dealing with it before something really bad happens and everywhere's a concrete jungle and there's no way to go back from it then.
I wish we could control where water goes, especially in my extension that leaks every time it rains, but never mind.
What about the blooming office?
Absolutely.
That's one of the sites. It's terrible, and that is purely fall. So it's like, it's making sure it's done properly. It's like all the layers and the materials that are used are done properly, but also the installation is done properly, which is why it's really important to, when you pick a contractor, to make sure that you're asking these questions, because the fall is equally as important. You can set all the drainage up, you can set everything with your layers up, making sure it's permeable. If it's draining the wrong way and it's not draining into the correct things that are set up, then it's pointless, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's important questions
even
to
like
ask.
I say, I mentioned the roof terraces and things like that. If you're using a pedestal system or some sort of raised laying system on there, I would still the thing about any flat roof situation that you have, it's not actually flat. It's shouldn't be. It should have a fall going away where the actual water runs to and the drainage goes away.
I'm not sure if mine is just flat. I think it is, because it goes. It doesn't collect anywhere. When it goes like really dirty and really green, it holds on. It doesn't seem to flow anywhere.
Well, that's it.
I'm gonna get a spirit level on
there
it.
You go.
I am.
Could be insufficient fall on it, and like I say, literally, you can go even when you are using the pedestal systems. Like I say, the roof would have its fall, so the water dissipates away. But I would also have the pedestal system having a fall as well. So, you haven't got a totally flat surface. Yes, you've only got the space of that one particular slab because it's free draining as such going through that. But yeah, you sort of like your falls, like you say, on that are, well, it's paramount that you can do it, because if it's totally flat, then you've got nowhere for it to go anywhere.
So this actually leads into, because I keep getting this question a lot, and so with the pedestal system, when it's obviously... Sorry about that. Frog in my throat. when it comes to when you fit it against the house, so they don't like splash up to the house. And obviously it's often getting used, that system, because of the damp course level. So how do you actually deal with the drainage that is towards your house?
Well, you can install, basically you can leave gaps between, you don't have to fit it flush up to your property as such. You can leave sufficient gaps there.
So it drains through.
So, it can't bridge over the sort of like the gaps and sort of like stay there. Yes, you have got the splash situation, but you can install an actual drainage
just the same as you would anyway.
If you felt that you needed to, and then you just rather than
just thinking with the fall, because if you'd obviously fall away from the house,
rather than that drain sort of like going into a soak away elsewhere. You just
that's another really good solution is soak away crates.
Yeah, absolutely. They're brilliant, and again within the subs, we're talking SUDs even. We're talking about that. The SUDs drainage system doesn't necessarily have to be the layers that we're talking about.
There's different solutions.
There are, you can have a totally impermeable structure, no problem at all, as long as that water is channeled away, goes into a, like I say, the crates system is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then that water just literally dissipates as it would have done if it had fallen on.
We've highlighted drainage so many times, haven't we? I feel like
it is a really
key thing for
and probably something that is really, really overlooked in constructing.
Well, we've said this. It's ugly, really.
Well, it can be. It can be, but
it's not. Obviously, now there's like we brought the aluminium drainage in, which is, but like your typical eco drains are, in my opinion, ugly. And it's what most people use. I know that's a brand,
but people use them in general. It did not saying eco drains, but
no, just in general, drainage in general.
It is indeed,
I'm not here to slate anyone.
Definitely not, but it is a general term.
I need a manager.
But it is a general term, but
just in general, the drainage though. Do you know, like when I speak to people that are doing the properties or even in landscaping, I think people focus on what it's going to look like in the end, and the drainage is a bit of an afterthought, thinking it's a bit like, it's like skirting boards in your house. They just happen. You don't think about them too much. They're there for a purpose, and I feel like with drainage, it can actually be quite an eyesore if not done properly.
It can be, and it should be one of the first things that you think about. To be fair.
Exactly.
And probably people
don't.
So
more attractive drainage that will help.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're right, and like I said, there's various different things about where you can meet the SUDS compliance. Like I said, you can use any type of material that lets water through.
Yeah.
Or any type of sort of like system that lets water through and drains away.
Just to summarise for people, so using permeable paving with permeable solutions underneath.
Yeah.
Soak away drains, gravel, again with the right preparation underneath, and resin systems, raised solutions such as the pedestal systems.
Yeah.
And using soakaways as well, so using your drainage channels into your soakaways and letting the water do its thing.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. I don't know whether you've heard that, but I don't know what it really means. But never mind. But anyway, sorry about everybody who loves cats, but I don't know. I don't really know what it means. But it is a saying. Anyway, join us next time for more animal rights things. Sorry about that. What does it actually mean? What? Come on, it is a saying.
You know what? It's one of the. It's a saying,
just
but
made
it's
it up,
one of those saying that my mind just flashed straight away. That is definitely a saying though. You've not just made it. There's no. I'm not sure if that's from medieval times or not.
There's more than one way to skin a cat. Stop saying it. God sake. So anyway, there's more than one way to do things.
There is more than one way to do things.
Wow.
So hopefully you've learned a bit about SUDs and regulations.
Yeah,
if you've got any questions, then just let us know and we'll try cover it in one of our next episodes. Thank you.